to then be a coach, because it's a lot different to just understand how to play it and then understand how to teach it. And I think for us, like that's what we do well. We have a great ability to educate people on the position and the principles of the position, but I think we're also really good educators. But I digress. Let's talk about how you can develop yourself if you don't have a community of goalkeeper coaches. So we broke this down, Tori, into before training, in training, after training, in just 3 simple ways that you can improve yourself as a coach. And we don't have all the answers, but we have some ideas how we can spark conversation about maybe some things that you want to reflect on, because the TKI community is a very different community than your club environment where you work or your college setting. And so your methods are going to be reflected based on the needs of the people that are around you, right? So hopefully we can just ask some questions and spark some conversation or spark some introspection about how you can be a better coach. But let's start about pre-training. So pre-training, we were talking about understanding the game deeply and understanding your teaching method. So it's one thing to be an expert in goalkeeping. It's another thing to be expertly teaching goalkeeping, right? So you can understand the game deeply. I understand the principles of play. So if I can impact the ball, I can go. If not, I'm in goal defense, the transition, solving pressure, using mat. Those are understanding goalkeeping. There's another thing to understand how to teach goalkeeping. And so my opinion would be that not only do you have to watch the game and understand maybe like what are some potential outcomes or final actions that you'd want or some positions to take up, but understanding the game and being able to break those the game down into simple bite-sized chunks, because like you want to simplify the decision-making process for goalkeepers. So understanding that, and then understanding what is your method of how you want to teach. There's no maybe right or wrong way, but you definitely want to have a method in how you teach so that you can reflect back on that and be like, is this working for the goalkeepers I get to work with, or is it not and I need to adjust? For us, we have our own principles. We've broken the game down into 5 tasks. We've broken those into sub-principles. And then we use something called the constraint-led approach, which simultaneously allows us to work on the final actions and the execution while also the decision-making process as well, and developing character and resilience and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think there's not much to add to that. It's you have to have an idea, right? Like, I don't know many people who are like, I'm going to become a career coach that don't have a passion and a desire or some previous knowledge of the game, right? So you have to know the game to be able to teach the game. But I think it goes beyond that, and it becomes, okay, I need to know the game well enough to teach the game. I have to know the game well enough to be able to explain the game to someone who's brand new, but also talk about it so advanced that I could help someone who maybe is a pro. So kind of just deepening your knowledge in that regard, but then take it a step further and say, I have to be able to educate people wherever they're at and meet them where they're at to help them be effective problem solvers.
Yeah, I think maybe this is one of the biggest hurdles for coaches, is that there's not a lot of time. Like you don't have that much time to develop yourself and read and listen to podcasts. And I mean, you're listening to this, so maybe you do have time, but I think that it's really important for us to like carve out time each week to read a little bit more on a book about skill acquisition, or understand a bit more about teaching methods, and not just understanding how you would execute a front smother, but how do we lead people to discover and guide them and their attention to what's actually important and how to be able to execute these things. So for me, I listen to podcasts every week. There's Rob Gray podcast that I listen to, Transforming Basketball podcast that I listen to. There's so many podcasts on skill acquisition and talent equation. I would listen to one of those a week. I also read every single day, because I believe that like if I'm not evolving and adapting to be the best coach I can be, then I'm definitely not helping the goalkeepers I work with and being the most effective coach I can be for them to be able to transfer their skills. So I'm reading a book, Transforming Basketball. I'm also reading a book by Rob Gray, How to Be an Ecological Coach. But there's also other things that you can read about, like in terms of soft skills and developing your communication ways. But something I'm learning in life is that it's not as effective to just be good at one thing. So, for example, it's not necessarily the most effective thing for me to just understand the game to the smallest minutia. I also have to be able to understand how to design a session. I also have to understand the principles of teaching. I also have to understand how many different personalities that I might have in a group, and maybe their moods, and understanding what mood meters they're at that day. Like, there's just so many different capacities of the position that we want to have a general knowledge about, so that we can serve them in those areas, right? Like, I'm not an expert on the physical side of the game, but we do have someone in our community who does help us learn. We do have someone we can ask questions to about the physical side of the game. We have some general knowledge about how goalkeepers move and how we can, you know, produce some force out of the floor and different body shapes and stuff. But the more curious you are, the more you're going to learn, the more that you can apply that to your session and hopefully be more effective and lead your goalkeepers in a direction that's going to help them be the most effective on the field. Which leads us to number
those are
2.
Tangible, by the way. Just side note. Those are all tangible. So you can listen to a podcast. Like, we all probably drive somewhere, listen to a podcast over the course of a couple of days. Like, it's something you can do and you can add in. And if you don't know where to start, what a great way to start.
Yeah. Which leads us to our next one. And I think this is probably one of the more underrated abilities, but when you're in the session, so we talked about pregame or pre-session, what you can do, establishing your methods, your philosophies, understanding the game. Then when you're actually in the session, there's a certain tool or skill set that I think is really important. One is establishing a trust, like first and foremost, like setting the tone for your environment and creating and establishing that trust between you and the people that you get to work with, not your goalkeepers, the people you get to work with. That's going to be so important, because it doesn't matter what you know if someone doesn't think you care about them. Right? Like, they're not going to be as receptive to that information, right? Like, we want to know a little bit more about how that person's day was. We want to know, does that person have a dog? Do they have a sibling? Do they like chocolate cake? Like, whatever it might be, we need to figure out different ways. How can we establish trust within that relationship so that when I give feedback, someone understands that I'm not coming at you, I'm not criticizing you. We're collaborating together. We're doing something together. We're doing this work together. And I'm not doing something to you. We're doing it with each other. So establishing the trust. And then observing. This is like such an underrated skill. Observing like what's happening in the session, and not just thinking about what's my next thing that I'm going to do, what's my next thing I'm going to say, but actually watching the session, actually seeing what is occurring and how can I change what I'm seeing, or change the exercise based on what I'm seeing. So observing, we're so quick to talk, we're so quick to tell. But if we spent more time observing and thinking about adjusting than just directly talking, I think it would better serve our athletes. Which leads me to my last one within the context of inside the session, is figuring out how to be the best communicator that you can be. How clear can you be? How concise can you be? How much clarity can you give simplistically with enough ambiguity that someone can solve it on their own, right? Like, we're not telling them hard, fast things that they have to do or that they should do. Maybe bring some attention to things that they could do, or different ways they could solve problems. So establishing trust, observing, communicating. In our session, those are 3 things that you can do better that will probably maximize your training.
Welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and conditioning and goalkeeper coach here at the Keeper Institute, and your host for today's show. The Keeper Institute is a unique goalkeeper training facility in New Jersey aimed at developing better goalkeepers and better people. On this podcast, we will be discussing all things goalkeeping, character development, and more. Welcome back to another episode of the Keeper Institute podcast.
Hey, you know what I think would be great to start this podcast is that you stand up and you show people our new merch shirts, because they're incredible and they're awesome.
I would
Okay.
love to.
So we
I've
got
always wanted to be a model.
Ooh, we have a comfort color shirt on the front, says the Keeper Institute. It's a nice sand shirt with like a mint font. And if you turn around, it's sleeping on clean sheets. And it's got, the net and keeping it spotless since 2013. They're awesome. They're comfortable. They're our new leisure shirt. Make sure you get one.
And they come in that mint color with like whitish writing, right?
Yes, and a little orange situation on the back.
I'm just a sand girl. I'm a sand girl for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, they look great.
Do you regret asking me to do that?
I know. It was an off the cuff thing, and I'm like, oh, man, our
Yeah.
listeners, but they know how weird we are, so it all
They
works
do.
out.
I ate that up. If you're just listening and you're not watching, you need to go find this shirt because I'll tell you what, they're going to sell like hotcakes.
They already have. Anyway, I'm just
I
waiting.
have ideas up here for more, guys. Just tell them we need more because I have so many fun ideas.
And they're so comfortable. They're so comfortable. It's my favorite shirt. Anyway.
And it makes me look big.
Right. Because you're getting swollen durable.
Yeah. All right. Back to the podcast, you guys. We have a little bit of tea for you today on this podcast.
There you go. I think this is a question that we get often, or it's a hot topic. And also, we just want to dispel myths. I feel like you and I just are steady out here on the podcast trying to just dispel misconceptions about the position and the way it can be interpreted and taught.
We are the Mythbusters.
Mythbusters.
GK version.
Yes. Okay.
I'm on one. You just put me on one. I've had no human interaction today, really, and I'm just ready to be weird.
Have you ever seen that show?
Have I? Have you
Okay.
met my father? He watches like every kind of out there show.
Oh, okay. I did like that show for a hot minute when I watched TV, but I feel like we should work together with goalkeeper.com people to get some like goalkeeper data to show these. Although they don't do as much work on the women's side, hopefully one day they will. But I think that would be a great like side-by-side comparison to back up with receipts our feeling about it.
I would love it. I would love that. So if you're listening, goalkeeper.com.
Yes. Okay, let's get into it, Tor. This is a topic that is debatable. How to train women and men different, girls and boys different, and that it's different, that the position is different, and is interpreted different. And I think you and I would agree that there are a few nuanced differences, but large majority, we train them very similar. Compared to gender doesn't really matter as much to us. And so I get into these, arguments, discussions, debates with men's goalkeeper coaches who work at the pro level. And the one topic that I think there's a lot of discrepancy on, if any, just one, is shots that can occur from the half spacey, kind of wider flank areas. And men's goalkeeper coaches will say, your first and only priority needs to be defend the goal from these situations, which I think, okay, I can understand in some circumstances because of, men's abilities to hit the ball a little bit harder or to maybe have a bit more bend or spin on the ball that we don't often see in the women's game as much, which I can understand. For me, when the ball's in the half space deep or a little bit more shallow cross or in the flank area, our principle is to position where you can impact multiple outcomes without conceding the ability to protect the goal. That's our principle. Because I do think that quite often it is more realistic that women are going to hit the ball into the central area rather than try to shape a shot for themselves. And we can obviously back this up with more video analysis. I'm not saying that we should just forfeit defending the goal if the ball's in the half space, because the further up you get, the bigger the goal becomes, obviously. But I do think there are different body shapes and there are different positions on the field that we can take a bit more of a preventative stance rather than reactionary to just defend the goal. I think there's opportunities to do both. And to me, that's the one nuance between the men's game and the women's game, especially at the pro level. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that's like the biggest thing, and like, you know, there's physical attributes that maybe men have that women don't. Like, that's not to say that women can't be great in the air, but I think there is a difference between like what men do sometimes in aerially and like their heading ability. And then also you have to talk about like men versus boys and women versus girls, because I think that makes it different too. Like, we don't necessarily always coach girls the same way we do women, and boys the same way we would men, right? So I think that age or that physiological portion also matters as well. But I think just what you hit the nail on the head between like, okay, yeah, there's ability for more power from men on their shots, or like different texture they can put on the ball. But I think that there's really not many other differences in the way that we would coach them. And I think those two things don't even necessarily make what we would do or the meat of our training all that different.
Yeah, I think there's two things. Our points today are talking about session design and the psychology or the mental part of it, or the environment that we create. So in terms of session design and principles of play, we use the same principles of play for women and girls and boys and men and people who maybe don't identify with either of those. We use the same principles of play. The game is the same in terms of our job is to stop the opponent from scoring and help facilitate the attack, right? That it's the same on both sides. The way you interpret those principles are up to you individually, specifically, right? Because you get some tall men who maybe aren't as quick, and you get some shorter men who maybe are really fast. And it's the same on the women's side. And there's, you can fall on the spectrum of anywhere from preventative to reactionary in any phase of the game. In any task of the goalkeeper, there are different elements to you as an individual that you want to use to your strengths, and you want to play to your strengths, and you also want to work on your areas that need some more support. But it is up to you as the individual to interpret the position in alignment with two things. One is your team strategy, and two is your capabilities. And that doesn't really change based on gender. It's the same. We believe that it's the same. The goal of the training is to allow players to understand the game a little bit more deeply and understand themselves a little bit more deeply, so that they can consistently and effectively solve the problems that are put out in front of them, right? That are unfolding in front of them. And so we often have girls and boys in the same session, and it's incredible because I like it, because there's different qualities of each that come in, and we can work together to understand how to make the best decision in each circumstance. And there's a lot of collaboration, and there's a lot of, I'm going to bring my ideas and we'll talk about it, and you bring your ideas and talk about it. And honestly, it really doesn't matter. It's independent of gender. It's just collaboration, which I love collaboration. It's like one of my top 3 favorite parts about sport, is being able to collaborate with other people and work together toward, the common overall good. But yeah, I don't really think gender matters when it comes to principles of play and how you want to interpret the position based on who you are as a human.
Snaps to that.
The second thing I think is a big misconception is that girls are soft, and you have to and that you have to be over the top kind, and that you can't hold them to a standard, and that boys are hard and boys are tough, and you can yell at them and you can scream at them and they're fine. And based on the data, based on all the research that I've done, that is a very big misconception. I think the environment is, to us, that's the foundation of everything we do at TKI. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about our knowledge. It's not about, the goalkeepers level that we're working with. Our first and most important priority is making a space where everyone feels seen, heard, supported, and safe. Because we are consistently asking goalkeepers to be vulnerable, right? At TKI, we don't train so that you feel 10 out of 10. We don't do your strengths all the time, because we want you to feel stretched. There is a certain amount of what's called desirable difficulty that we want to help put you in so that you can grow your game and have more awareness or have more opportunities and experience in things that are hard. And in order to make things hard, we have to make things safe first, because if not, you're just going to hide your vulnerabilities. And I don't know, maybe you can share a bit of your experience with this, but when I was on the national team, I never worked on things that were uncomfortable for me, because I did not want to be seen as not capable or less than or not good enough in these areas. And because I never intentionally worked on the areas that I needed to work on, I never got better at them. And it was always something that hindered my performance and hampered my performance, because I was in my head thinking, please, I hope that does not occur. I hope that a ball back to my left foot does not occur, because I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not competent with it. And I spent so much of my career as a pro hiding the things that I wasn't comfortable with instead of working on them and facing them head on and running. I ran away from them because I didn't want to be seen as less. And because of that, I never worked on it and I never got better at it. And it was something that followed me for the rest of my career. So we don't want that to happen, especially with young players, that they're in a developmental phase. Like, it's not about results, it's about development. And if players don't feel comfortable, girls, boys, and indifferent to gender, it's going to be really hard for them to work on hard things. And it's going to be really hard for you as a coach to maintain a good environment when someone wants to light you on fire every day.
Yeah, I think that like something you really like could think about is it doesn't have to do with gender, how someone reacts to you. So like you could be screaming at a man, a woman, a girl, a boy. Like it doesn't matter. Some of them might not physically show you that they're upset, independent of gender, right? But it doesn't mean that it's working. And it doesn't mean that it's okay what you're doing or that it's helpful. They just might not be expressing it, or they're not necessarily emotionally impacted by it. But that has nothing to do with their gender.
Right.
And it has everything to do with probably more of like their psychological components of themselves. And it also doesn't mean that they can handle it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like so often we've put it that like men, boys can handle it and girls can't because they'll cry. That's not the case. I think some people, like I have met young girls who are just stoic and they're like, you could probably say anything and they'd have the same face on, right?
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with their gender. It has everything to do with them. But we have to look back and we have to think like, oh, is this helpful? Is this useful? And I think that we just like so often are like, all right, this is how it needs to be for this person and that's how it needs to be for that person. But it doesn't mean it's effective. Like that psychological safety is huge. You have to create that understanding and that supportive environment so that you can get goalkeepers that want to train in an environment where they are exposing themselves, right? They're not afraid to use their left foot. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're not avoiding things to not look a certain way. They're there. They're present with you. They want to get better. They can collaborate in the conversation. I think that's what's important.
I also think that facilitates better performance too, right? When you can stretch someone in training to wrestle with the mistakes that they're making and wrestle with failure, guess what? That's not isolated to just training. That leaks into every other part of their life. Okay, let me just give you an example. So most people know I have two children, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the 5-year-old has like started to get into like more sports and like physical activities and stuff. And he's around people all the time that are high achievers and that are high level athletes, right? Like his aunt is the best goalkeeper in the world. And so he's around her all the time and he sees success all the time. You know, you're playing in front of thousands of people, you're making saves. You know, she won a gold medal at the Olympics. Like he sees success on a daily basis, right? And in my head, I thought, wow, that's amazing. He's around all these high achievers all the time, right? And he sees people who are really successful in their lives and great role models, right? Like great people too. But what he doesn't see are all the mistakes behind all that, right? All the efforts behind all that, all the trials and the frustrations and the obstacles that have gone into making those people really successful at the highest level in the world. And it impacted him in a really negative way. So he was playing basketball one day, just like the one that you put over the door and you shoot. And he was playing and he couldn't get the ball in. And like, not for nothing, like it's kind of hard. It's like the one that goes over the door. It's a little ball. It's a little net. And like, it's hard for me sometimes.
The
it's hard.
Ball's very bouncy.
It is bouncy, right? And he was playing and Dom was rebounding for him and he said, I don't want to play anymore. And Dom said, come on, try again. He was like, no, I'm not very good at basketball. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, you don't play just to be good at it. Like, you play because it's fun. And he was like, no. And she said, well, why else? And he said, well, that's how you make money. Right. And I thought to myself, it's because he's surrounded by all these people who actually do make money from playing sports and coaching sports. And he hadn't yet developed resilience and he hadn't yet developed grit. And because he hadn't developed that resilience and grit, he wanted to stop. And I think about that so often, that example. And yes, he was like 3 or 4 at the time, but like, I think about that example so much when I think about youth goalkeepers in today's game, is that they want to stop playing because they don't feel comfortable making mistakes. They don't feel comfortable managing the pressure, because the only way for them to manage the pressure is to be perfect. And nobody is, right? And as long as you play goalkeeper, you're going to lose. As long as you play goalkeeper, you're going to make mistakes. And the more comfortable we get with making those errors and trying again, the more resilience that we develop within our training sessions, the more that translates to games, and the more that leads to like a longer career and longevity in your career, because you've accepted the fact that this part of the game is going to happen. When I step on the field, I'm accepting that mistakes could happen to me today, but I know they're going to happen, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week. I know they're going to happen, and I feel more prepared to deal with it. Nobody talks about this side of the game, about how stretching people in a comfortable situation in training where it's safe helps them to be able to manage those situations in games and just in overall life and career, which leads to more learning, which leads to more higher performance, which leads to more competence and more confidence of like, wow, that was really hard for me a few months ago. And look how all the progress I've made. And what else can I do? What else can I try? And the only way we're going to get to that place is if we as coaches create a safe space for both men, women, girls, boys. It does not matter what level you get to. It doesn't matter whatever gender someone identifies as. It doesn't matter at all. Everybody needs to be in a environment where they can thrive, where they can have an opportunity to become the person that they ultimately want to be, right? I want nothing else for most of the people I work with to end up being more resilient human beings. And if that's who I ultimately want to help them become, I need to create a space for them to try and practice that too. And so that's why it's really important for us at TKI to create these safe spaces, because it's not just about technique and tactics. It's about character. It's about who people are becoming. And, you guys that are listening to this, if you're players, that space is afforded to you and it's available to you. There are certain pockets of people that make that a priority. We do. And if that's you and you want to be in a more supportive environment, please come train with us, because we want to support you in that. We want to help you become that resilient human being that no matter what situation you're in, you can thrive and you can walk away being like super proud of who you were through that and content with whatever the outcomes are. It's just so important to us.
Some may argue the most important thing.
It is. It's the main thing.
Got to keep the main thing the main thing. Okay, so let's just like wrap it up a little bit. Let's bring it back to our T topic, which was what did you even say? I was how to train men and women differently, or the differences between men and women. Okay.
Yeah.
Myth busted. There isn't many differences. We labeled a couple. I said sometimes aerial ability, power on shots. You said texture of shot. Okay, cool. Put that aside. That's fine. because women can also do that too.
Yeah,
right.
They can.
But then we break it down. And what are our 2 like key takeaways you want about this myth busting topic?
First one is that everybody is an individual. You have a certain skill set and a certain capacity. Play to your strengths, improve your weaknesses. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Everybody's on a spectrum of, every phase of play, every task of the goalkeeper. Figure out what those are. Keep your strengths, and figure out how to improve your other areas. Adapt to the situations that are unfolding in front of you, whether you're a man, woman, non-binary, it doesn't matter. So do that. Number 2 is we don't treat people differently because they're a certain gender. Treat everybody the same in terms of creating a safe space for them. You can hold people accountable for sure. I'm not saying that everything needs to be nice and kind and tiptoe around hard conversations. No, but ultimately the goal is to be a safe space. You can still hold people accountable. I still can hold someone accountable and say, hey, I need more from you right now. And also it's still safe, right? Because our job is to, direct attention to certain things. Sometimes the attention needs to be on character building. Sometimes the attention needs to be on tech tac, and we can do that in a really safe place.
Boom. That's good stuff right there. That is a good topic.
And I think if you are a man, woman, girl, or boy, and you want to train in that environment to help unlock what your skill sets are and your understanding of the game, we have training opportunities throughout the whole year, but we have 3 really great ones coming up. 4 actually. Our college camp, which is in June, which is always a vibe. Our select camps, which 1 is in June, 2 in July. And we do work with men and women together and girls and boys together. And it's incredible the collaboration that can happen and where everyone can really take their game in such a short space of time. I shared on our last podcast how a camp changed my life, and we really want to help change goalkeepers' lives and allow them to be more encouraged and supported and to see where they could take their journeys.
Boom.
Yeah.
Jill, we have something else that you need to tell them about. It's really special if you're near or far.
It is. You can live in California, in Australia, or in New Jersey. TKI University is one of my favorite things that we do all year long. It's a 6-month course. We meet 3 times a month, 2 times as a class, 1 with me on the tech tac side, 1 with Dr. Christiana Ogunsami on the mental side of the game, understanding more about your identity and how to manage pressure and how to be in relationships. And then 1 individual meeting with me to go over whatever it is that you need more support with, whether it's game film or questions about some different aspect of the game. But yes, that starts in July. There's only 12 spots available, and I feel like a few are already taken up. So make sure you guys check that out on our website, thekeeperinstitute.com, as well as we just want to say thank you to our amazing sponsor, West Coast Goalkeeping, where they have gloves for everyone, no matter what level you are. Over 100 pro goalkeepers in the world use them. People that we love, like Kaylin Sheridan and Manny McGlynn and Angie Anderson, all the way to Matt Turner. And they have over 40 models available. So check out westcoastgoalkeeping.com.
We love West Coast. But now it's time for a question. Are you ready?
It's your question.
I'm keeping it simple. I know, I'm keeping it simple.
Okay.
What's something you're doing lately to set yourself up for success?
Ooh, that's a good one. I woke up at 5 a.m. I struggle with anxiety sometimes. I have a high pressure job here, obviously, at TKI, because I feel like we have a large responsibility to be pioneers in the way that we think about goalkeeping. But I also have a high pressure job because I am on TV every week, multiple times per week, and I also struggle with public speaking. It's not very comfortable for me, and was getting super, super anxious to the point where it was making me sick. And it felt like I was running on the treadmill at 12.0 for 24 hours a day. It was burning me out. Yes. And so something I started to do was carve out time for myself, especially on game days, which helped me manage my emotions and adrenaline. But I started prioritizing my own health a little bit more and started, saying at these hours, these are what I'm going to do. I'm going to start taking more supplements. I'm going to be more mindful of not eating so much processed food. And, I'm not very strict, like I have to do these things. But overall, I'm trying to be more mindful of those things. And I do feel like it's really helped me manage my anxiety a lot more, just making sure that I intentionally carve out 1 hour to myself and taking care of the things I need to, whether it's meal prep or reading or anything. It could be anything, but I've really found a lot of success with that. What about you?
Snaps to that. I love that. I love a good morning routine. I'm trying to figure out my new summer one.
You helped me with that. I took a sauna today, and I felt like I tackled the day. I started off the day so well, worked out, did the sauna, and I was like, man, I feel good.
It's lovely. It sets you up for success. There's just no
Yes.
better way to say it.
Yes.
I've been journaling. I have my little journal.
Nice.
I took a note from your page and I put some pictures in there. You're there.
Oh.
But yeah, I like to do, sometimes a to-do list because it just feels so good when you get to cross things off it.
Yeah.
I do some writing. I write down what I need to do for the week. So it just keeps me organized, keeps everything kind of like here instead of like here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is nice.
Maria got me onto that book, The Let Them Theory. Have you guys heard about that?
I have.
So Mel Robbins is like huge on, she calls it like brain dump. Like just, yeah. And it does. It feels really good.
Throw it out there. Get it out. Yeah.
Do you like journal in the morning or at night or whenever?
I start the day journaling and then like throughout my like work day, I'll call it. I like keep going back to it if I need to. I also do sessions in there. So if you ever need a session idea,
it's a catch-all.
There they are.
There they are. I like it.
But that's me. That's what I do. You guys, try it out. Let us know what you think. But
yes,
you also know where to find us if you need us.
Yes, please reach out if you need support. I think that's something that separates us. We really care and we really want to support people because I think you and I probably at different points in our career could say I really didn't feel supported, and it's so important because we have such a small community of people who really do get goalkeeping. So if you need more support, if you have questions, if you just need someone to dump on, like that is what we want to help support you and your growth as a human and a goalkeeper. Because we have experience in a lot of different situations between all of us here at TKI.
This is true.
Yes. If you enjoyed the podcast or if you have topics that you want us to talk about, please reach out. Let us know. We will cover it. We are here for the people. We're the people.
We are the people. The people's people.
We are. All right. We'll catch you later.
Catch you later.